Previously, behind the crumbling walls of the cold palace, I, a lowly maid, have waited 3 years for my moment of vengeance. After the death of the cruel Empress, I escaped the laundry pits by assuming a ghostly identity and seducing the emperor himself. I survived deadly plagues and infiltrated a bandit's den to save the man I secretly loathes. My journey is paved with blood and manipulation, and I have traded my soul for a seat at the emperor's side. As the web of lies grows tighter, I prepared to unveil my most dangerous gamble yet. The hunt is on, and the real game of power is just beginning. Chapter 3. The young master of Han Manor had colluded with mountain bandits to steal disaster relief silver. The crime implicated the entire clan. Yet Lord Han, to save himself, struck the young master from the family register and personally delivered him to court to confess. What was more, noble consort, Han severed ties with her own blood. She personally oversaw the execution of her younger brother. No one at court spoke ill of Han Manor. Instead, the hall rang with praise. Noble consort Han had put righteousness above family. Lord Han was loyal to the emperor and devoted to the nation. It was said to be a blessing for the realm. Evan Wong smashed a teacup. His fists clenched so tight blood dripped onto the floor, and his whole body began to tremble. Edmund Han, that old thief. I underestimated him. "Don't hurt yourself," I urged. "There's time. Don't rush." He stepped closer. "Why are you always so calm?" "Because I don't carry the emperor's troubles." He turned away, forcing his emotions down. "I want to know what you think of this. You must endure. Hide your talents. Wait until the enemy grows careless, then strike. Cut the weeds at the root. Leave them no chance to rise again." He snapped around. "Who are you, really? Why do you ask that?" He advanced step by step. "You look obedient and weak, yet you always do the unexpected. You appeared in Luling for no reason, and you happened to save me. At Brokenstone Ridge you uncovered who was behind the stolen disaster silver. And now you say this. I have to suspect you're no ordinary palace maid." I lifted my head and met his eyes without fear. "You're overthinking it. It was all coincidence. If you don't believe me, have someone investigate. Every word I said is true. I meant no deceit." He gave a cold laugh. "You sound so sure that even if I investigate, I won't find anything useful. Why waste the effort? Then if you don't trust me, why keep me?" His dark gaze pinned me in place. "I want to see how many secrets you're hiding. That's far more interesting than killing you. Is that so? I want noble consort Han dead." That was his condition for naming me Consort Wan. It was less a favor than an order. I couldn't refuse. If noble consort Han didn't die, then I would. "And if I can't do it?" I asked. He pinched my chin, his voice dripping with mockery. "Is there anything you can't do?" Killing someone was easy. Getting away clean was not. No matter how noble consort Han died, the blame would land on me. If the truth came out, I'd be the scapegoat. If it didn't, his harem would be rid of a menace, and the Han family would suffer a heavy blow. He really knew how to use people. But how did he know I wasn't using him too, to remove noble consort Han, the obstacle in my path? Julian Zhao came to see me. He said that if I didn't want this, he could secretly send me out of the palace. I could live under a false name, far from court forever. "Why are you so good to me, eunuch Zhao?" I asked. "You once saved me. Consider this repaying the debt." "But that's a capital crime. Aren't you afraid?" "That's not something you need to worry about." But I had already lived under a false name for 10 years. I'd fought to survive inch by inch for this very moment. How could I leave? I had kept my head down in the cold palace for 3 years just to reach today without a single misstep. My hands were stained with blood. There was no going back. "Thank you, eunuch Zhao, but I can't accept it. I already owe you too much. I can't drag you down any further. Please forget what you just said." He grew angry and gripped my shoulders. "You're courting death. My life is worthless. Dying doesn't matter. And your family? Don't you care? What happens to them if you die?" I looked up at his furious face. Pain surged in my chest, and tears slid down before I could stop them. My family wouldn't care. They were already dead for 10 years. Julian Zhao's grip loosened. Pity softened his expression. "If my younger sister were alive, she'd be about your age." After Brokenstone Ridge, when I told Julian Zhao he resembled my older brother, his attitude toward me changed. It turned out I simply reminded him of his sister. When he couldn't persuade me, he let out a long sigh. "Take care of yourself. After noble consort Han heard I had been named consort Wan, she summoned me. Beatings and torment were inevitable. Spare me. I was acting on an imperial order. If I refused, it would be a capital crime. She asked, confused. What do you mean? The emperor has no children. Every consort who became pregnant later miscarried for no clear reason. So the emperor made me a consort to have me pretend to be carrying an heir, and to uncover the truth behind the miscarriages. I'm only following orders. There's been no intimacy between the emperor and me. Please spare me. Noble consort Han went pale. Then she pressed some jewelry into my hands and told me to do my work well. You understand what you should do, don't you? She held my hand, smiling, but her eyes were full of warning. I understand. I was applying medicine in my room when Evan Wong suddenly shoved the door open. When he saw my scarred back, he froze. What happened to you? I'm clumsy. I never do anything properly. Getting beaten is normal. He yanked up my sleeve. Red welts crisscrossed my arm, ugly enough to make anyone flinch. And who did this? The palace servants say I seduced the emperor. Noble consort Han punished me. He gave a faint smile. She really is arrogant. Why did you come to see me? He picked up the ointment and smeared it onto my arm with rough fingers. Do I need a reason to visit my own consort Wan? Don't worry, I'll do what I promised. It's late. You should go back. He chuckled. I like dealing with clever people, but too clever isn't a good thing. His grip tightened without warning. My already injured arm throbbed with pain. Does it hurt? He asked, though he clearly already knew. If I say it hurts, will you be gentler? No. That night, Evan Wong didn't leave. He said that if we were putting on a show, it had to look convincing. We slept fully clothed. Neither of us slept. We lay stiff and silent, waiting for dawn. The next day, he made sure everyone knew I was his favored consort. It brought me plenty of trouble. Noble consort Han's younger sister came to the palace again. I ran into her in the imperial garden. She recognized me and exchanged a few polite words. I invited her to sit for a while, kept her chatting about nothing, and waited until Evan Wong arrived. Her temperament was gentle. She wasn't as striking as noble consort Han, but she carried a softness and calm no woman in this deep palace could match. Looking at her put people at ease. When she saw Evan Wong, her cheeks reddened. She kept her head lowered. When he spoke to her, she glanced up shyly. She truly looked helplessly charming. After Amelia Han left, Evan Wong's face went cold. What are you plotting now? I smiled. What do you think of Miss Amelia? He slid an arm around my waist. Speak plainly. I leaned into his chest. Tell me, if the Han sisters turn against each other, who will Lord Han support? Besides, Amelia Han already had feelings for him. I wasn't forcing her hand. If they stand united, he said, then my harem will be ruled by the Han name. Don't underestimate a woman's jealousy, I replied, and I won't let them unite. He laughed, tightening his hold. You really are interesting. I curved my lips into a smile, looped my arms around his neck, and asked, Have you fallen for me? He looked at me, his expression complicated. The way you look at me is always edged with coldness and disgust. You hide it well, but you still let it slip. I'm curious, who are you? I dropped my hands and took a few steps back. I'm just an ordinary person. You're imagining things. He knew the answer wouldn't change no matter how hard he pressed, so he left. I accept your proposal. Don't disappoint me. I won't. Goodbye, Emperor. Jealousy was like a snake. It swallowed everything. Betrayal by those closest to you, cruelty from the one you loved, either could shatter a person's reason. No matter how hard noble consort Han seemed, she was still a woman. How could a proud, domineering woman tolerate betrayal? Evan Wong liked to sigh that women and petty men were hard to deal with. Yet he was perfectly willing to use me, someone venomous. Was he any better? Calm was only the beginning of the storm. Just like noble consort Han now, she was holding back. With a trace of affection still in her, she couldn't bring herself to strike at Amelia Han. After all, that was her sister. Ever since Evan Wong brought Amelia Han into the harem, he lived like a dissipated, fallen ruler. For days he skipped court, spending all his time in Immortal Fall Palace, with music and revelry night after night. The Emperor truly favors consort Amelia Han. Even Immortal Fall Palace was built for her. I heard he even painted her bathing and keeps it in the Hall of Supreme Origin. 2 palace maids whispered, not noticing I'd been standing behind them for some time. I cleared my throat. They spun around, startled. When they saw it was me, they dropped to their knees. Gossiping about the emperor is a capital crime. Stop spreading nonsense. Yes, we won't do it again. On the way to the imperial apothecary, I heard plenty about the emperor and consort Amelia Hahn's shameless indulgence. I wondered what noble consort Hahn thought of it now. Ethan Lee looked startled when he saw me. He said it felt like a lifetime ago. The last time we met, I'd been a servant from Lotus Court. Now I was consort Juan. Miss Ellie? Ethan Lee looked troubled. What is it? As he handed me the medicine, he sighed. His eyes held sympathy and pity. This medicine damages the body if you take too much. If you can avoid it, then don't take it. I smiled and nodded. Don't worry, I know my limits. The palace is treacherous, he warned. Now that you're consort Juan, trouble will come. Be careful. He escorted me out of the imperial apothecary, reminding me of one thing after another, as if he feared I might lose my life with a single misstep. Even as I left, he still watched me anxiously, telling me to stay on guard. His concern made shame rise in my throat. The medicine I'd asked him for wasn't for me. Yet I'd made him worry so much. I shouldn't have. News that consort Amelia Hahn was pregnant spread through the harem. Evan Wong came to my palace with a storm on his face. He drove out the attendants, pinned me against a table, and spoke into my ear in a low voice. I'd rather have you bear my child. Why does it have to be someone from the Hahn family? He was furious at his own powerlessness. Did you forget you once made Amelia Hahn drink a contraceptive decoction? His body went rigid. He stared at me in disbelief. How do you know that? My health is poor. I often go to the imperial apothecary for medicine, so I found out. His hand closed around my throat, not tight, almost as if he were appraising some curious object. He studied me for a long moment. Emperor, have you seen enough? He released me and turned away, unsettled. I poured him a cup of tea and handed it over. He drank it in one gulp. Don't worry, I said. Consort Amelia Hahn isn't pregnant. It's just a method I use to provoke noble consort Hahn. The medicine I got from Ethan Lee was for Amelia Hahn. Joy flickered in his eyes. Truly? You're so cold, I said. Consort Amelia Hahn has given you her whole heart and you don't care at all. He coughed awkwardly and changed the subject. Julian has been busy with something lately. I can never find him. It was true. I hadn't seen Julian Zhao in a long time. It seemed he wasn't in the palace. The day after Amelia Hahn's pregnancy, noble consort Hahn summoned me. Her face was paler, as if she'd just fallen ill. Has the emperor asked you to do anything lately? I hesitated, unable to speak. She snapped impatiently. Say it. I don't have time for this. I said with difficulty. The emperor wants me to pretend to be pregnant. That way I can protect consort Amelia Hahn. Noble consort Hahn twisted the handkerchief in her fist until it warped. Her voice turned sharp. He really wants you to do that? He also said, consort Amelia Hahn is gentle and virtuous, with the bearing of an empress. He likes her very much. Noble consort Hahn hurled a cup of hot tea at me. Shards splattered across my hand and blood ran down. Thankfully, the tea wasn't scalding. It only soaked my collar. When I returned to my room, I caught a familiar scent. One that didn't belong there. Eunuch Zhao, since you're here, come out. He dropped down from a roof beam. I thought it was a servant. His eyes fell on my hand, worry rising in his face. You're hurt? Just a scrape. It's nothing. He pulled a portrait from his robe. It was the girl who had inspected my body. When I entered the palace, they required a clean background. That girl refused to go in and threatened death. I took her place. With scars all over me, I could never pass inspection. So she was inspected under my name and had a portrait drawn. In the end, her father bribed a eunuch, and I was the one who entered the palace. Do you know her? He asked. Yes. He hadn't expected me to admit it. The hand holding the portrait went still as if he didn't know whether to lower it or keep it raised. You don't have anything to explain? I stepped closer. Explain what? His expression twisted, pain flooding his eyes. They reddened. Your name is Evelyn Bai, isn't it? Inside, panic flared. On the surface, I stayed calm. So, Eunuch Zhao has been missing these days because you were investigating me. He suddenly seized my shoulders. Are you Evelyn Bai? I didn't dare meet his eyes. I turned my face away. My name clashes with the emperor's, so I changed it to Ellie. What's wrong with that? He didn't know whether he was happy or in agony. Tears swam in his eyes, yet he was smiling. What's wrong with you? I asked, confused. Do you remember Silas? Silas. I hadn't heard that name in 9 years. I thought I'd forgotten it. But the moment it was spoken, it felt as though the days when I called him Brother Silas were only yesterday. Julian Zhao? I never expected you to be Silas. He lowered his head, guilt heavy in his voice. I'm sorry. If I'd come home earlier back then, my mother wouldn't have. I've forgotten the past, I said flatly. Don't mention it again. He asked carefully, do you hate me? Why would I hate you? How did you live all these years? I let out a cold laugh. You want to know? He nodded. I began to loosen my clothes. He jerked his head away. What are you doing? I turned my back to him. Isn't this what you wanted to know? Turn around. One look will tell you. Maybe my mangled back frightened him. His throat tightened and no words came. I said without expression, the brand on my waist, I burned it off myself. Why? Madame Song sold me to traffickers. They sold me to an old eunuch who'd left the palace. He kept many little girls and had endless ways to torment them. He carved the character for prostitute into my waist, so I took a branding iron and burned that filthy word off myself. Enough. Stop. With trembling hands, he pulled my clothes back into place, covering the scars he couldn't bear to see. Every time I heard those girls screaming, I imagined you would come save me, but I never saw you. Julian Zhao. I never hated you. I was only a stranger of unknown origin. There was famine then. Madame Song had no reason to keep feeding me. She sold me, and I blamed only my fate. But now I had to use your guilt to make you serve me willingly. In this life I have wronged you. Julian Zhao began to care for me far more than before. He tried hard to restrain his excitement, but it still made Evan Wong suspicious. Evan Wong wore a grim expression as he leaned against the edge of the bath. Steam curled through the air, and I couldn't make out what lay in his eyes. In the vast hall, it was only the two of us. The silence was so complete, I could hear nothing but our breathing. I didn't know what he was angry about. He left me standing there for a long time, as if punishing me. Come here, he said coldly. I moved, but my legs ached so badly I could barely bend them. When he saw my pained expression, he smiled. I inched forward. The moment I reached him, my legs gave out and I fell into the pool. He startled, then quickly reached down and hauled me up. Water went down the wrong way. I coughed hard. He brushed wet strands from my face. There was even a trace of tenderness in his eyes. I lowered my head, bit my lip, and held my breath until my face flushed. He lifted my chin and made me look at him. The anger in his eyes had vanished. Desire had taken its place. So he was this easy to provoke. I hadn't even done anything, and he was already stirred. My eyes brimmed. Tears trembled there, but I refused to let them fall. His voice roughened. That wronged look of yours makes people feel sorry for you. If you want to punish me, just say so, I murmured. Why bully me like this? Then tell me, he said. Why would I punish you? I pulled free and stepped back, sulking. Isn't this how you always treat me? How would I know? He pressed close. What are you to Julian? I put on a show of anger. Do you think I have something going on with eunuch Zhao? He'd been seen through. He avoided my probing gaze. I told you Julian isn't good with words and is cold by nature, but lately he's shown you great care. Why? I forced out 2 tears, looking wounded and wronged. Eunuch Zhao said I resemble his late sister, so he's been a little kinder to me. I never thought you'd imagine something so filthy. Being wrong doesn't matter to me. I'm used to it. But Eunuch Zhao is upright, and you. 9 parts of that were true, 1 part false. And Julian Zhao had mentioned his sister before. Evan Wong would believe it. With his suspicion eased, I didn't need to drag it out. I wiped my tears. If there's nothing else, I won't disturb your bath. Before I could swim to the edge, he yanked me back. What are you doing? I cried. Before I could react, he pulled me under with him. I could swim, but since he liked this game, I played along. I struggled for a while. He still wouldn't let go. When I was close to passing out, he curled his lips into a smile, pulled me into his arms, and kissed me, breathing air into my mouth. He really was bored. If he wanted me, I couldn't refuse. Yet he insisted on playing games like this. Fine, then he had no one to blame. Feelings were the cheapest thing of all, especially in emperors. They could never be trusted, and they were never worth wanting. Only power held in one's own hands was real. The deposed empress spent her life chasing an emperor's affection and died for it. Amelia Han gave her whole heart to the emperor, yet she was only a pawn to be used. And proud, domineering noble consort Han wanted only the position above all women, beneath one man. And my poor father trusted that man's so-called brotherhood, only to be driven to slit his own throat, then torn apart. An emperor's love was the cruelest and the cheapest. He held me as we broke the surface, still kissing me, growing bolder. The moment he lost himself, I bit through his lower lip and shoved him away. He sucked in a sharp breath and loosened his grip. "You dare." Desire still burned in his eyes, but my defiance stoked his resentment. He wanted to be angry, yet couldn't quite manage it. "Enjoy your bath," I said. "I'm leaving." When others offered him their hearts, he refused. Yet he insisted on craving what didn't belong to him. Ridiculous. I had never meant to weave this net of desire, but when a moth insists on throwing itself into the flame, it can't blame anyone else. Noble consort Han really could keep her cool. So much time had passed, and she still hadn't made a move. She only had people watching. Every day after court, Evan Wan went straight to Immortal Fall Palace. He even declared in court that if Amelia Han bore a son, the child would be named Crown Prince. Lord Han, of course, grew smug and careless. His attention shifted from noble consort Han to Amelia Han. Every few days, he ordered gifts delivered to Immortal Fall Palace. Noble consort Han was furious, but she refused to act. With nowhere else to vent, she poured all her rage onto the servants. The people in Palace of Peaceful simmered in silence. Behind her back, they cursed her. Sophie, dragging her lame leg, muttered curses under her breath. I caught her red-handed. "Consort Wan." "Sophie, fancy meeting again. If noble consort Han had a fire in her, I would help it burn hotter." Ethan Lee learned why I was searching for medicine. He didn't blame me or get angry. Whatever I told him to do, he did it. His obedience surprised me. He didn't hide his thoughts either. He said bluntly, "Miss Ellie is meant for great things. You're clever and bold, nothing like the women in this palace. I don't ask for much. I only hope you'll remember me someday." I smiled. "If I fail, you'll be going to hell with me." He smiled like it was nothing. "I'd go gladly. Even if I die, I won't regret it. Meeting Miss Ellie was worth it." When he said it, his eyes were clear, without a trace of flattery or deceit. I patted his shoulder and said seriously, "You say Miss Ellie like it just rolls off your tongue." He realized it all at once. His lips parted slightly, and he scratched his head, embarrassed. Consort Wan. Late at night, Consort Amelia Han was seized by unbearable stomach pain. The imperial physicians knelt in a crowd, helpless. In a fury, Evan Wang issued an edict. If anything happened to Consort Amelia Han, the entire imperial apothecary would be buried with her. Immortal Fall Palace's incense and food were searched top to bottom. At last, the source was found. The medicinal food Consort Amelia Han took each day, combined with the herbs in the incense burner, formed a brew that invigorated the blood and opened the meridians, extremely harmful to the fetus. If it continued, the baby wouldn't survive. Consort Amelia Han turned deathly pale. She sobbed until she was soaked in tears. "Where did these herbs come from?" Evan Wang roared. Consort Amelia Han's expression changed instantly. Then she cried even harder, stammering, "No, it can't be. It can't be her." When Sophie was taken away, I smiled and soothed her. "Sophie, don't worry. You delivered the herbs on orders. None of this is on you. I've already settled your family somewhere safe. Noble consort Han won't be able to find them." She bit her lip, made up her mind, and nodded at me. Julian Zhao and I went to Immortal Fall Palace. He took me up to the roof, and we watched what was happening inside. "Brother Silas, if she tries to change her story, this needle has to kill her on the spot. Don't miss." He turned, staring at me in surprise. "What did you call me?" I said. "There's no one else here. Calling you Brother Silas is fine. Or do you not want me to?" He shook his head, pleased. "No, call me that." Sophie did exactly as I'd told her. The herbs had been sent on noble consort Han's orders. Amelia Han collapsed into Evan Wang's arms, crying, "Why would my sister do this to me? I never meant to fight her for anything. Emperor, why is our child's fate so bitter?" Sophie was led out. Under cover of night, Julian Zhao and I killed the 2 palace attendants escorting her. We brought her to my room. "Sophie, noble consort Han won't spare you. What do I do? Please save me." She grabbed my hand and begged. Julian Zhao took out paper, a brush, and a suicide note that had already been drafted. He set them in front of her. She stared at us, bewildered. I held her hand and said earnestly, "Don't worry. Copy this letter in your own handwriting. I'll find a condemned prisoner and throw him into the lake in the northeast corner. We'll say you killed yourself out of guilt. Then Julian will send you out of the palace to reunite with your family. You can marry a decent man, and from then on there will be no Sophie in this palace." She hesitated, refusing to write. I said, "Noble consort Han has probably already been summoned by the emperor. If she denies everything, the blame will fall on you. But if you fake your death and push the guilt onto her, you'll be safe, and she'll be the one punished." Her hand went to the leg noble consort Han had beaten lame. Hatred flared in her eyes, and she nodded. Julian Zhao put the suicide note away. The moment Sophie stepped out, he struck her and knocked her unconscious. "Are we really sending her out of the palace?" he asked. I said coldly, "If this ever comes to light, I'm the mastermind. The emperor was using me to deal with noble consort Han in the first place. Brother Silas, do you think I'd still have a way to live?" He nodded, understanding. "I'll keep you safe." The next day, noble consort Han knelt in Immortal Fall Palace. What she received instead was news that Sophie had killed herself out of guilt. By the time Sophie's body was carried into Immortal Fall Palace, it was already cold. The handwriting on the suicide note was Sophie's. Noble consort Han had no way out. To drive the Han family apart completely, Evan Wang only ordered noble consort Han caned 20 times and confined for 1 year. Palace of Peaceful became like the cold palace. Lord Han, naturally, abandoned her as well. The deposed Empress had turned violent and mad, unable to bear the icy loneliness of the cold palace. Noble consort Han was far more restless. How could she endure it? Julian Zhao still had blood on his face. He looked at me, faintly disappointed. "In the end, you really are a bit too ruthless." Sophie's family must have already been reunited with her. As I wiped the blood from his face, I said helplessly, "You and I are both ants. I don't want blood on my hands either. But if we want to live, we have to do this. Brother, it's not that I'm ruthless, it's that you're too soft." He pulled me into his arms, his voice full of pity. "But I'd rather you were still that Ellie who could smile no matter how much she suffered." But the Ellie who smiled was already dead. Chapter 4. Evan Wang came to see me in high spirits. When he saw Julian Zhao leaving my room, his face turned cold. "Palace consorts and eunuchs must not be involved with each other. Have you forgotten?" I said. "I risked punishment for your sake. And Julian really has a hard fate. He's clearly loyal, yet he's always suspected by his master." That must have hit a nerve. He grabbed my shoulder, anger rising. "Are you blaming me?" I lowered my lashes and sniffed, sounding wronged. His thumb brushed my cheek. "You cried?" "No." "Then are the tear marks on your face painted on?" I wiped my eyes. "I'm just scared, now that it's over. If Sophie had changed her story back there, the one dead would have been me." He paused, then murmured, "I won't let you die." I pretended not to hear. "What did you say?" He cleared his throat. "Nothing. Why did you come to see me? You should be with consort Amelia Han. She was frightened. She needs you." He lay down on my couch as if it were his own. "I feel stifled. I came here to rest for a while." "Then rest. I won't disturb you." As I turned to leave, he called after me. "Anything else?" he said. "Why are you avoiding me? You're my woman. If I want you, you can't hide." I walked over, looped my arms around his neck, and whispered into his ear, "Then do you want me or not?" He pulled my waist close and settled me on his lap with a smile. "Are you sincere, or are you putting on an act?" I leaned toward his lips, close enough to almost kiss. "What if I'm sincere? What if I'm not? I'm right here. If you want me, take me. Why do you care what's in my heart?" It moved him. The hard bob of his throat and the hunger in his eyes didn't lie. Just as his kiss was about to land, I shoved him away, rose smoothly, and said straight-faced, "Rest properly. I have something to do, so I won't disturb you." "Alara, bye." Ignoring his low roar, I shut the door behind me and left. I never wanted any entanglement with him. But since he had taken an interest in me, I could only play along. Maybe it would make things easier. "Adrian Wang, watch closely. Watch how I toy with the sons of the Wang family in the palm of my hand." After noble consort Han was confined, Evan Wang stopped going to Immortal Fall Palace so often. Instead, he handed me a problem. Amelia Han, delicate fingers resting on her flat belly, entered my bedchamber and glanced around. Sister, hasn't the Emperor come? I helped her sit. The Emperor is always busy with matters of state. How would he come to my place? She was naive. She believed Evan Wang would dote on her forever. With so many women in the harem, if they all thought the same, the Emperor would be the one to suffer. Sister, do you know what the Emperor likes? A festival is coming. I want to send him something. You're putting me in a difficult position. The Emperor and I aren't close. I wouldn't know. She said, disappointed. He hasn't told me either. The words had barely left her mouth when Evan Wang walked in without any announcement. Both he and Amelia Han froze. Amelia Han shot me a wounded look. It made me feel oddly guilty. Evan Wang spoke first. I went to Immortal Fall Palace. The servant said you came to Consort Wan's place, so I came to find you. You weren't easy to track down. Amelia Han brightened at once and hurried to him, leaning into his chest as if she might cry. Emperor, I thought you didn't like me anymore. Evan Wang's hand settled stiffly on her back. How could that be? I lifted my brows, sat down in quiet relief, and sipped tea to steady myself. When I looked up, Evan Wang was staring at me with open displeasure. I acted as if I hadn't noticed. Emperor, it's time for lunch. I don't have anything good here. Why not go with the consort to Immortal Fall Palace? Before Evan Wang could answer, Amelia Han spoke. Sister, don't say that. Going back and forth wastes time. Let's all eat here. He actually agreed, but something felt off. Especially Amelia Han's behavior. To avoid mistakes, I signaled Evan Wang again and again. He acted as if he were opposing me on purpose, insisting on making things difficult. I usually ate light food. Evan Wang took 2 bites and stopped, but Amelia Han ate a lot. It wasn't delicacies, yet she kept stuffing food into her mouth with such deliberate effort that it made my skin crawl. Do you like vegetables, Sheener? I don't usually see you eat them, Evan Wang asked, curious. She panicked. Her chopsticks clattered to the floor. She forced out an explanation. Lighter food is good for the baby, too. I patted her hand and smiled. You should eat more nourishing things. My coarse food and plain vegetables aren't even to the Emperor's taste. Evan Wang looked at me, his gaze complicated. I just didn't have an appetite today. I deliberately kept some leftovers and had the rest cleared away. After they left, I carried the food box to the Imperial Apothecary. Ethan Lee closed the lid, rubbed his nose, and frowned. There's medicine in this, enough to cause a miscarriage. You're sure? He nodded gravely. Are you in trouble? If you need me, just tell me. Thank you, you've already helped me more than enough. Amelia Han, why set your sights on me? Either she'd discovered she'd been tricked about being pregnant, or she meant to use the child in her belly to come after me for real. That harmless little rabbit had hidden herself well. Her mistake was being too impatient. Night had just fallen when Evan Wang arrived at my palace with a group of guards. After shutting the door, he seized my shoulder, furious. Why did you use such a crude method to harm her? That fetus that doesn't exist. I would have found a chance to get rid of it myself. Why were you in such a hurry? I let out a cold laugh. Do you think I'd do something that stupid? His brows drew tight. Surprise flickered across his face. Then? I brushed his hand away and said bitterly, if you hadn't insisted on keeping her for lunch today, how would she have had the chance to strike? He turned his head away, embarrassed. I didn't think that far. It was only because. I said, because you wanted to make me jealous? He said nothing, only looked at me, irritated. Edmund Han is in Immortal Fall Palace. As long as you deny it, I'll protect you. I'll admit it. You're being ridiculous. If you protect me, you'll be making an enemy of the Han family. And besides, why Amelia Han tried to harm me? You know it in your heart. Since she wants exclusive favor, why not give her what she wants? Evan Wang pinched my chin and narrowed his eyes, his voice turning cold. Do you even understand what you're saying? I met his furious gaze and reached up to smooth the crease between his brows. He didn't dodge. I said, don't forget, the person Amelia Han should be going after is noble consort Han, not me. As long as I stay safe in the harem, I'll be her only target. Then what was the point of everything we did before? He gave a bitter smile. I must be possessed to have no answer for a woman as ungrateful as you. Thank you for your favor, he said, if only you truly meant it. After he calmed, he asked, Harming the imperial heir is a capital crime. You really want to confess? I leaned into his arms and touched the spot over his heart. Can you bear to let me die? He held me and joked, it's only a woman. What would I be reluctant about? My expression sobered. But I can't bear to lose you. He stroked my cheek, serious now. I'll keep you alive. Immortal Fall Palace was in chaos. Edmund Han pressed hard, and Amelia Han cried pitifully. I knelt on the ground and didn't argue. When the leftovers I hadn't dumped were brought in, I confessed. Amelia Han looked startled that I admitted it so quickly. I smiled at her. She frowned, confused. Evan Wong locked me in the dungeon, offering a casual excuse that bloodshed wasn't appropriate. Edmund Han had no choice but to let it go. I was only a palace maid, no backing, no family power. Amelia Han wanted exclusive favor, and Evan Wong came to my palace often, so she resented me. Once I was in the dungeon, she would never have to worry about what came after. Damien Wei. Long time no see. He clasped his hands in greeting. Miss Ye, you've suffered. I shook my head with a smile. Thanks to your care, I didn't die in this cell. Damien Wei draped his cloak over my shoulders. Noble Consort Han wrote to General Caleb Gu. He'll be returning to court soon. She's finally making a move. Damien Wei said. She's learned Amelia Han's pregnancy is fake. I've arranged things so she believes the Emperor and Amelia Han set her up, and Edmund Han has abandoned her too. Of course, she'll look for someone to rely on. Caleb Gu had once admired noble consort Han, but for wealth and glory, she entered the palace. Later, to keep people from gossiping about her, Caleb volunteered to go to the frontier lands. Now one letter from her could bring him back. A truly besotted man. Damien Wei's gaze sharpened. When they both end up wounded, that's when we strike, I said, but Evan Wong won't be easy to deal with. Don't worry, Monsieur. Whether Edmund Han wins or Caleb Gu wins, their ultimate goal is the throne. As long as Evan Wong lives, Edmund Han will always be beneath him. And Caleb Gu will never get the woman he wants, so Evan Wong won't get an easy end. Entering the dungeon was also a way to protect myself. Let them turn the world upside down. I would remain untouched. At last, light surfaced in Damien Wei's dark eyes. 13 years of humiliation and endurance. It's time to make them pay what they owe. I knelt. Thank you, Brother Damien, for helping me. He hurried to pull me up. I haven't helped you that much. You're the smart, level-headed one. You've helped me more than anything. Even the Han-Gu conflict depended on your plans. Take this dagger for protection. He pressed it into my hand, gave a few final warnings, and left. After Damien Wei left, the guards in the dungeon were replaced. Naturally, no one knew he had met with me. Evan Wong even came to see me. You've lost weight. He touched my face, his eyes full of tenderness. You're willing to come see a disgraced concubine like me? I'm flattered. He smiled, helpless. You, of all people. Even now, you won't say a single soft word. What soft words do you want? With one arm around my waist, he gripped my chin with the other and made me look at him. That night you said you couldn't bear to part with me. Was it true? Yes. If I die, how could I bear to let you live? Then have you ever meant anything you've felt for me? If I didn't, why would I enter this lightless dungeon for you? He hugged me, delighted, and whispered in my ear, when everything is settled, I'll make you my true consort Wan. I'm afraid I won't live to see that day. I won't let you die. Evan Wong, don't blame me for being ruthless. Under heaven, there can be only one ruler. What your father stole must be repaid. A father's debt is paid by his son. Even if I didn't want your life, Damien Wei would never let you go. I want this world to give the Ye family justice, and to clear the names of 3,000 Shadow Luo guards. The dungeon was dark day and night. My ears filled with other prisoners' roars and wails. Rats darted boldly over my feet, fearless. Slowly I lifted my foot and crushed the nuisance under my heel. Its shriek thrilled me, its life and death decided by a single thought. With a little more pressure, it would never move again. Power really can drive people mad. Damien Wei sent people to bring me news at intervals. Tonight was the night Edmund Han and Caleb Gu would launch their mutiny. I couldn't sit still, not knowing what was happening outside. When Evan Wong and Julian Zhao appeared before me, I froze. He had me change clothes and dress as a man. He handed me a dagger, then held me tight, unwilling to let go. Go with Julian. He'll keep you safe. I acted as though I knew nothing and asked, confused, what happened? He said, Edmund Han has rebelled. But he didn't know Caleb Gu had rebelled tonight too. Han against Gu. No matter the outcome, Damien Y would be the one to reap the profit. You prepared for so long. Why fear one Edmund Han? He tied my cloak for me. I made thorough plans, but I can't guarantee there won't be mistakes. As long as you're safe, I have nothing to fear. If Evan Wong knew this rebellion was a scheme Damien Y and I had laid, what would he do? Julian Zhao drove a carriage under cover of night and rushed me out of the palace. We hadn't gone far when we saw flames towering into the sky over the imperial palace. It had finally begun. Silas stopped the carriage. Ellie, what is it? I pressed the dagger to my throat and threatened him. Take me back. I can't abandon the Emperor. Even if I die, I'll die with him. He stared at me in shock, as if he couldn't believe it. So your feelings for the Emperor are real? Yes, please, brother, take me back, he asked sternly. You won't regret it? I won't. From Tianchuan Gate to the Hall of Supreme Origin, bodies lay everywhere, eunuchs and palace maids among them. I ran straight into the hall. Edmund Han had one leg severed and was writhing on the floor in agony. Caleb Gu was already dead. Only Damien Y was unhurt. He wiped his blade clean, curled his lips into a smile, and said to Evan Wong on the dragon throne, Your Majesty, are you comfortable in that seat? Evan Wong glared at me. He didn't answer Damien Y. Instead, he asked, Why did you come back? I walked to Damien Y's side and smiled. I couldn't bear to leave you. Damien Y laughed aloud. He lowered his head to my ear. At a time like this, you're still lying to him. Let me help you. I'll let him taste what it's like to love, and never have it. He suddenly pulled me into his arms and sat me on his lap. His fingers brushed my cheek as he looked at Evan Wong with blatant provocation. How lucky you are, Emperor, a beauty willing to live and die with you. It makes me jealous. Julian Zhao roared. Damien Wei, let her go. And if I don't? The Hall of Supreme Origin was surrounded by Damien Wei's men. If Julian Zhao took one more step, he would be dead on the spot. Evan Wong said, Damien Wei, I never thought it would be you in the end. I misjudged you. Damien Wei replied, Evan Wong, you misunderstand. This realm was mine to begin with. I'm only taking back what belongs to me. Evan Wong asked, What do you mean? Damien Wei's original name was Thomas Wong. He was the Crown Prince's legitimate son. And Damien Wei was a fake eunuch. Back then, Adrian Wong poisoned his own father, altered the deathbed edict, and stole the throne. He also tricked my father out of his jade token and used it to mobilize the Shadow Luo Guard. In a single night, they slaughtered the entire Crown Prince's clan. When my father arrived, the Crown Prince's residence was already a river of blood. He secretly saved the Crown Prince's only surviving orphan, Thomas Wong, and sent him out of the imperial city. When I first saw Damien Wei, his eyes were full of hatred. He was only a child, yet his stare was terrifying. Adrian Wong and my father had once been as close as brothers. After Adrian Wong became emperor, he granted my father boundless honor. The sword in Evan Wong's study had been forged on Adrian Wong's order, and on its hilt was carved the character Qian. My name was Evelyn Ye. That Ye was bestowed by Adrian Wong, the same character he used for his own child. My father never sought fame, but Adrian Wong pushed him into the storm. When he first took the throne, there was opposition at court. He wept in front of my father. He fabricated evidence, claiming those officials were corrupt and depraved, even plotting rebellion. When Edmund Han came to deliver the verbal decree, my father knew he couldn't escape. During that time, Adrian Wong used my father to kill every opponent. The imperial city turned into hell. Everyone lived in fear. In the end, Adrian Wong secured his position. When my mother and I returned home, Adrian Wong issued an edict summoning us to the palace. He held a grand banquet and said he would make me a commandery princess. That night, Adrian Wong smiled brilliantly, but his eyes were filled with killing intent. As the banquet began, father sent me away to play elsewhere. When I came back, I saw, far in the distance, my parents surrounded by guards. Adrian Wong sat above them, smug, looking down on them like insects. Arthur Ye abused his power, slaughtered senior court officials, grew arrogant with merit, and harbored treason. His crime was unforgivable. Exterminate 9 generations. Father couldn't argue his way out. He had believed Adrian Wong's words and treated him like a true brother. But Adrian Wong had only used him to purge his rivals, then pinned every charge on him. Father slit his own throat on the spot. Mother followed him in death. One of Father's attendants covered my mouth so I wouldn't make a sound. He hid with me under the underbridge passage all night. When we finally escaped, the Ye family estate had been reduced to ash, and Father had been torn apart by 5 horses. When Father entered the palace, Victor Huo took the jade token to mobilize the Shadow Luo Guard. He trapped them on the palace road outside Tianshuan Gate, claimed they intended rebellion with my father, and had them shot dead on the spot. 3,000 Shadow Luo Guard. More than 120 members of the Ye family. All killed by Adrian Wong's schemes. The attendant took me away and changed my surname to Bai. We stayed far from the imperial city. I became a blacksmith. Father Bai raised me for a year, then died of illness. Before he died, he sent me to the Song family and gave them all his savings. Even so, Madame Song still sold me. The Huo family, the Han family, and Adrian Wang, none of them were innocent. The deposed Empress was Victor Huo's daughter. When I first entered the palace, I was assigned to serve her. I endured for 3 years. I learned many things from her, and I saw the true balance of power in the inner court. I killed her. The Huo family lost all momentum. Victor Huo had already died of illness anyway. It was retribution. Damien Wei recognized me. On the trip to Luling, he helped me in secret more than once. That was how I got the chance to save the wounded Evan Wang. He wanted the throne. I wanted the Shadow Luo Guard and the Ye family's innocence. Back then, it was the Shadow Luo Guard who butchered the Crown Prince's clan. How could Damien Wei ever clear their names? As Damien Wei recalled the past, his whole body shook with rage. He stared at the dead and wounded around him. His eyes went bloodshot, and he burst into crazed laughter. Emperor, the realm is yours now. Clinging to him, I flattered him. He was pleased. Then he turned to Evan Wang. You probably don't know. This consort Wan is, The dagger in my hand drove into his chest. Blood soaked both my hands. Eunuch Wei, even if I die, I won't let you harm the Emperor. Damien Wei stared at me in shock. Blood poured from his chest. He lunged at me, choking on pain. You dare. I plunged the dagger into his heart again and whispered in his ear. Do you think I'm that easy to use? I'll tell you what I want. I want the Wang clan's realm. I shoved him away and let the dagger clatter to the floor. I collapsed as if terrified and started to sob in panic. I didn't mean to. I was scared. For the Emperor, I can do anything. Don't come looking for me. Don't. Damien Wei went still. The soldiers around us traded glances. In the chaos, Julian Zhao said, "The traitor is dead. Lay down your weapons and the Emperor will spare you." Evan Wang rushed over and pulled me into a tight embrace. His breath trembled. His arms locked around me as he soothed me. Don't be afraid, I'm here. No one can hurt you now. I clutched his robe and cried, helpless. I didn't mean to. I only wanted to protect you. He pressed his chin to the top of my head, his voice hoarse. I know. You did nothing wrong. The soldiers wavered, all of them watching Evan Wang. They still looked stunned by everything that had happened, their hands trembling on their blades. A group of hidden guards poured in from outside. The already panicked soldiers threw down their weapons and dropped to their knees, begging for mercy. So Evan Wang had been prepared. Their leader was Marcus Liu, one of the 3 closest attendants. I'd only seen him once. Evan Wang's gaze turned grim as he swept his eyes over everyone present. His voice was low. Leave no one alive. Kill. The Han family fell. Noble consort Han hanged herself, leaving behind a letter saying she had wronged Caleb Gu in this life and would reunite with him in the next. When I woke, Evan Wang was sitting by my bedside. He took my hand, his face bright with relief. Ellie, you're awake. Get some rest, I said. I'm fine now. He lay down beside me and held me, then closed his eyes, heavy with exhaustion. The next day, Amelia Han, dressed in mourning white, knelt outside my door. Evan Wang didn't kill her. Emperor, consort Amelia Han has been kneeling for 2 hours. Aren't you going to see her? Evan Wang set down his book and frowned. I spared her life for old time's sake. If she wants to kneel, let her kneel. I said nothing. He looked displeased and asked, Aren't you angry I didn't kill her? I smiled. Your decisions aren't for me to question. But I want you to question them. I believe you made the right choice. Amelia Han was stripped of her status and sent out of the palace as a commoner. The carriage stopped halfway. She looked at me in terror. dropped to the ground, and scrambled backward. "You wouldn't dare touch me. I'll tell the Emperor." "Really? Then you'll have to tell him in a dream." When I returned to the palace, Evan Wong was already waiting. "You killed Amelia," he said evenly. I put on a jealous act. "If you want to punish me for her, I have nothing to say. Amelia Han was delicate and pitiful. I'm vicious. Of course I can't compare." He smiled. "And yet I like your viciousness." He had feelings for me, but he never truly trusted me. Steam rose from the bath. Behind layers of red gauze, he leaned against the pool's edge and stared at me with burning eyes. "Ellie still can't accept me?" I sat at the edge of the pool, wrapped in a thin veil, and turned my head away shyly. "I'm afraid?" "I'm not a man-eating tiger. What are you afraid of?" I shot him an irritated look. He swam over and dragged me into the water. "You? Ellie's angry?" Tears slipped down my face, aggrieved. "No, I'm just covered in scars. I'm afraid you'll be disgusted." The veil slid away. His fingertips traced along my back, inch by inch. His eyes were full of tenderness. "I ache for what you've suffered. How could I be disgusted?" I lowered my head. "You're so good to me, but I've wronged you." "What do you mean?" he asked. "The truth is, I did it on purpose. I wanted to catch your attention. When you went to Luling, I knew. So I slipped out of the palace and followed you the whole way. I kept thinking about what I could do to win your favor. I plotted at every turn. I don't deserve you treating me like this." His dark eyes held mine. "I've finally gotten the honesty I've been waiting for." I looked at him, confused. He lifted my chin. "I told you, once the dust settled, I would make you my true consort Juan." His kiss fell. The room turned languid. At last, I earned his trust. He laid a hand tenderly over my belly. "I want you to bear me a child. A daughter as clever as you, a son as brave as me. But I was Evelyn Ye, not your consort Juan. In this life, I would never bear a child for my enemy. I had committed countless sins. When I died, I would surely fall into a Vichy hell." Lady John looked frightened when she saw me. I took her hand and exchanged a few pleasantries. Once she understood why I'd come, she dropped to her knees in terror. "If you have a child, the realm will belong to your John family. Noble consort Han is dead. What are you still afraid of?" She shook her head. "This is deceiving the Emperor. If he finds out, it's the headsman. I don't dare." I tightened my grip on her wrist. "I hear Lord Jiang has run into trouble lately. If it goes badly, he could lose his head. Don't you care about your father?" How did you become so terrifying?" she whispered, staring at me in fear. I smiled. "Don't you like the Emperor? You won't even give him a child?" I will. Just don't touch my father, please." "Don't worry. Lord Jiang will be safe." Evan Wong was drowsy, his eyes half-lidded. He held Lady Jiang in his arms and kept murmuring, "Ellie." The next day, the incense in the room had been replaced. He rubbed his temples, tucked the blanket around me with care, and went to court. I waited a long time. At last came the news. Lady Jiang was pregnant. Ethan Lee handed me the medicine. "This will produce the symptoms of a false pregnancy, but it only lasts 6 hours. Be careful." "Thank you, Eunuch Lee. I was pregnant." Evan Wong was overjoyed and promised me the Empress's seat. 5 months into my pregnancy, Evan Wong fell ill. Wah! With the newborn's first cry, the Emperor finally had his first child, a boy. It was a good thing it was a boy. Otherwise, I would have had to find one outside the palace. Lady Jiang was sent out of the palace overnight. The Jiang family vanished from the imperial city with her. As long as she never returned for the rest of her life, I would not take her life. When she left, she held her child and sobbed until she could hardly breathe. "I'll give him wealth and honor. He'll live without worry. If you won't let go, none of you will survive." She clutched my hand and begged, "Please, you must protect him." I took the crying baby and said, "He's my child. I will protect him." Evan Wong, sick and frail, held his child. His eyes brimmed with happiness. "Ellie, you've worked so hard." Guilt crushed me, but there was no way back. Evan Wong's health worsened by the day. He summoned me, held my hand and said, "Ellie, I can't bear to leave you and Henry." "You'll get better," I said. A tear slid from the corner of his eye. He placed the deathbed edict that lay by his pillow into my hands. "I'm giving you everything you want." I stared at him, stunned. Tears began to fall without my control. He gently wiped them away. "Are these tears truly for me this time?" "Why?" I choked out. He knew everything. "Ellie, don't feel guilty. I only found out that night, the night Lady Zhang gave birth, and I should thank you for leaving me a child. My throat tightened. I didn't know what to say. He asked, hope in his eyes. Did you ever love me? Even for a moment? I couldn't bear to lie, so I shook my head. My heart has been hard as stone for a long time. I'll never love anyone. In this life, I deceived you and failed you. In the next, you must see clearly. Don't ever meet a liar like me again. I had deceived your heart, deceived your realm, and even deceived your life. He didn't have long. There was no need to keep drinking that soup. Do you want to know who I am? I asked. He shook his head. It doesn't matter anymore. In my eyes, you will always be a Lara Bai. I spent Evan Wan's last days with him. He never blamed me. Even at the moment his heart stopped, he still didn't know why I did it. He lived with clarity, but died in confusion. And I, carrying countless deaths and one sincere love, stepped onto a seat revered by all, a sinner for all time. I cleared the Ye family's name. I cleared the name of the 3,000 Shadow Luo Guard so they could be honored openly. But I didn't dare admit I was Evelyn Ye. For revenge, I had made myself filthy, unworthy of the Ye name. Let Evelyn Ye die on that night more than 10 years ago. The woman people fear now is Alara Bai. On the surface, the realm bears the surname Wang, but in truth, it already bears the surname Bai. Julian Zhao tightened his grip on his sword. I'll go make him shut up. I stopped him and glanced indifferently at the storyteller in the tea stall. He's only telling the truth, isn't he? Henry Wang was already 5. Ethan Lee watched him recite texts all day. Marcus Liu and Julian Zhao also taught him martial skills. Still so young, yet he already understood so much. Julian Zhao draped a cloak over my shoulders. Henry wants to go out and play for a while. He asked me to come plead for him. I sighed softly. Let him go. Brother, when I die someday, find Lady Zhang and let mother and son meet again. I don't want a lifetime of regrets. Julian Zhao nodded. After wrestling with it for a long time, he asked, Do you ever feel guilty toward the Emperor? I do, but I don't regret it.